with the fabulous and incredible Claire Bahn. Claire runs a PR agency, and she does a lot of personal branding for both small businesses and medium-sized businesses, occasionally gets into the larger businesses as well, but really loves working with people. So because I'm a person, I love working with Claire. And so thank you for joining us today, Claire.
Thank you so much for having me, Jeff. I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, so a lot of people may not know this, but I was on Claire's podcast, and I had so much fun doing the podcast. And then I tried getting back on her schedule so we could do this, and now it's been a few months. This is a busy lady. So Claire, what exactly do you do? What can you share with everyone just so they can get a little related to you and your world?
So I'm a personal brand strategist. I have a personal branding agency, and we basically it's not like a standalone brand where it just kind of you do it once and it's done. It's like this living, breathing thing, so that we kind of open up opportunities. So whether that's press, podcast opportunities, speaking engagements, all of that sort of things. So that's kind of what we do. So it's all about building the brand so that you magnetize opportunities to you. So we do, through an omni-channel approach. So it's not just branding; it's the branding and all the marketing for people and small, medium-sized businesses.
Well, that's great. So when we were on your podcast, I had just released CountOnAble, the book. Yay! So we talked a bit about that, and then I sent you a copy. Found out I could have actually driven it over. You live 4 miles.
I know, you're like right down the street.
But I sent it, and you had a chance to look it over. And in our pre-conversation just now, you brought up a couple of really interesting, concerns, issues that showed up for you as you were reading the book. Do you want to maybe, highlight that?
I think because obviously CountOnAble, and so we are CountOnAble to our teams and in the way we carry ourselves and the way we speak and that kind of thing, and it also is being understanding of people's lives and that you have working for you. And I'm finding that in one particular chapter you talk about if someone's not doing a certain job, it means that they're avoiding it because they don't like it. I've certainly done that. I hate writing and some of these things, and I'm just like, pulling teeth. And unfortunately, it always ends up being at the end of the day when it's like not at my best. So I understand it, and it's kind of one of the things that I intuitively understood. And I was like, okay, let's just see if there's somebody else that we can give it to. And it usually was like a sigh of relief for this, whatever individual. I kind of shifted things. I've shifted a lot of things, but then we're finding there's certain things that don't get done, or they say they're getting done, and it's kind of like half. If you know what I'm talking about. And so we're at this point where I'm like, I need somebody that's going to do this stuff because I can't do it anymore. My co-founder can't do it anymore. We're bogged down. It's not getting done, and it's very, very important. So yeah, I'm kind of in this position where I'm just like, I don't know what to do. If you literally have something where you're just like, I really just need it to get done.
Right. So I think what I hear you saying is, look, you have a limited amount of resource. By the way, it doesn't matter whether you have a small company or a big company. The amount of resources is always limited by something. Mm-hmm. And so when you have people and then you have all of these extra tasks, you're trying to figure out how do you get the additional tasks to be completed within the resource pool that you currently own. Mm-hmm. Because you're spending money on those resources, they've committed to you something. And I know in your world you use contractors heavily. I know I work with a lot of companies that strategically use contractors, and most of their workforce are employees. And as you're building your business, what I think I hear is happening is you start off with these 4 tasks, and you've got someone working full-time on those 4 tasks. And then it grows and they can't handle all 4. So now you need someone to pick up 1 or 2 of those, or to be a support to get the 1 or 2 of those complete. And it's a real conundrum. Is that kind of summarizing what you said?
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
So, first off, there are a couple of things that come to mind. We have to remember something about people. You're CEO and founder of your company for a reason. You grew up doing whatever you did, and then you said, okay, I'm ready to go off on my own, and you did. Well, you have to remember there are people on your team with that kind of a mindset as well. And even if they're not thinking about going off and doing their own business instead of working for you, there may be something else.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you a personal tell on me. I don't know if I told you, but my new mantra is looking bad is the new looking good. So here goes. I was working at IBM. It was the second time I was employed there, and I really loved working there until one day I realized I really want to be back running and building a small business. And then my performance started to falter. But instead of having that conversation with my boss, I just kept it to myself and started thinking about what else I wanted to do. And you know what happens when your boss starts noticing that your performance is dropping? They start coming down on you. Instead of what I promote in the book is being on top of where your people are as a function of how you manage the day-to-day and week-to-week work. So what do I mean by that? In the book, I basically outline the process to how to have a CountOnAble company and how to shift from the old method of being accountable where people feel like they're being bossed around. And they have a boss, which generally means they're being micromanaged, to one where they can be empowered. And what that looks like is, first off, you started with them and they have a certain level of responsibility and certain tasks and objectives that they're supposed to achieve. Most of the time, there's some kind of a check-in. What kind of check-ins, for example, do you do in your company?
I mean, everyone's on a team, so we do weekly check-ins based on the team and the tasks that they needed to accomplish. So we do a lot of what you're talking about already. Yeah.
No, it's great. And my experience of being on teams and working with teams and managing teams when that's the environment is we feel some kind of pressure on us to perform something somehow, and it generally rolls downhill, right? So, I mean, I don't. When I was a kid, I remember, seeing the picture of, the cartoon of someone coming home from work and then kicking the cat, right? In today's world, we have layers of that because, like, we have part-timers with part-timers, right? And it's like coming home and kicking the dog kicks the cat, and the cat kicks the mouse. It's just, it rolls downhill. So managing that becomes an issue, right? Keeping in mind that it's not always that you have those meetings, but how those meetings go that matters. So people will often feel like they have to say yes to something, especially when they're in a group, to look good. I have a relative that worked for a fairly large company and recently retired, but while I was writing the book, I said, hey, I'm just curious, are there ever any tasks you get asked to do that you say yes to and don't do? And boy, I got the biggest laugh ever. Like, why is that? Well, it's simple. It's because there's a much bigger penalty if I say no to something than if I say yes and let it get lost. And until we as business owners can take on creating a no penalty zone for employees by being vulnerable ourselves and being able to tell one that doesn't necessarily make us look good, but is just the truth, the world can change, because people want to work for real people today. They don't want to work for someone that just looks good all the time. And if you're genuine and authentic about who you are and what you do, you're the good stuff, the bad stuff, and you're able to have that kind of relationship, it's possible that you can also create that for your team. And then when they tell you, look, Claire, that's just not a job I want to do anymore, you can just have a comfortable conversation about it and say, well, okay, is that something I should assign to someone else? Or, if I take that away, it's really going to limit my ability to keep you employed.
That's where I am. So I feel like we've been going around, and I'm like, yeah, I'm doing all that, but it's
Right.
I'm in that point where I'm like, they are literally digging their own grave. Because
Well,
by putting themselves in that situation, I'm like, I'm totally fine with giving it to somebody else, but I have nothing else to give you.
and that's okay. You
Yeah.
just need them to know. You need to say, look, if that's the case,
Yeah.
maybe we should create an exit strategy for you.
Yeah.
Like,
And
will
I
you
mean,
keep
I've done
doing it?
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've done that where we, talked, and I'm like, is there, are you have something else? Do you want to go? They're like, no, I love working for you. You're so great. Da, da, da. And it's just like, well, I don't know what you signed on for. Because these were the things that I got done. I appreciate that you want to work for me, but there's somebody else
Why?
that doing these other jobs. Like,
You just said something that really triggered me.
okay,
Okay, you ready? No, it's
sure,
not nothing negative at all, but it just
okay,
really it triggered something for me. Um, you just said this is what you signed on for,
mm,
right? And remember a minute ago I was saying we start out doing X and then over time we start moving to Y and then to Z.
mm-hmm.
And whatever we signed on for may not be the thing we want to be doing anymore.
Yeah,
So that's the thing to keep an eye out. Listen, there's nothing wrong. They did sign up to do these 3 tasks. Those 3 tasks took 40 hours a week.
mm-hmm.
Now they only want to do 2 tasks. That only takes 20. Now they only want to do 1. That only takes 3. I can't keep you on if it's going to be 3 hours a week.
Yeah,
So I think what I hear is the opportunity to acknowledge that, hey, we started here. It sounds like you've moved to here. Nothing
mm-hmm.
wrong with the company's still back here. We need these things.
Yeah. Well, if I've tried to move you into something, it's not only that I moved you. I tried to promote you. I tried to give you more. Sometimes I find that if I've promoted somebody and I've given them more responsibility because they asked for it, then all of a sudden they're like shooting themselves in the foot. They can't handle it, and they're just like, but you're like, that's what you actually said you wanted to do, and I gave it to you, and your work product is bad. This you're not CountOnAble anymore. You were CountOnAble at this lower level, and now with more responsibility, you're no longer CountOnAble.
So I just want you to notice you just used CountOnAble like a weapon.
Okay. Well,
Just weaponized count, because remember what we're trying to do with CountOnAble is helping the employee be empowered to say what they can be counted on for or not.
okay. Yeah.
And as the company owner, right? Look at the alignment of that with them to get them to be able to say, look, I realize, you know what, that's really, I'm not. I really wanted to. And it sounds like in your case, in whatever this particular instance was, there was more responsibility they were open to taking on, but when it came to doing it, it was either, a lack of readiness on their part or inability to do that work or
Mm-hmm.
something that suddenly didn't connect. And now
Yeah.
you're left, now the opportunity I think there is like looking at, okay, well, what's the step in the process of promoting someone into a role like that?
Mm-hmm.
Right? One of the things that you can look at is like when someone wants a promotion and you know that they're capable, have them start doing that work before they get the promotion. And I used to liken it to be the CEO, if that's what you want to be, before you actually have that role. When I first started my software company, I was the sales guy. And then we hired one employee, and I was still the sales guy, but I realized, my other partner was not a business guy. So I said, okay, I need to be the CEO.
Mm-hmm.
When we hired our second employee, I decided I'm taking the CEO title, right? And so I kind of grew up into that, and I started doing all the research about, well, what does a CEO do, right? Mm-hmm. We're growing. But it's, I think, an opportunity to look at that, Claire. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point. I'm always, my mom always taught me that fair doesn't exist. Definitely, it doesn't exist. The world isn't fair. So that was always kind of her thing, and I do believe that. But so I always do try to strive to be fair. So I was like, you know what, I gave you a promotion. I'm going to give you a raise. I'm going to give you this and that. To be fair, because I've been mistreated, right?
Okay.
But I think that that's actually a good point, because I've thought about when I'm like hiring somebody, I need you to, I was like, maybe I'll pay them to do this thing. I'm like, no, do this little bit of work for me, give it to me. And if I like you, then you'll move on. Like, it's just, I'm not going to use your stuff, but I need to know, because otherwise sometimes if you give too much, you get taken advantage of. And I feel like I may have been in that kind of a situation where I've been a little too nice, where I should have been like, show me.
Yeah. You know what I call that? It's called being straight, not being nice.
Yeah.
Like, it's, one of the things that occurs, and I've talked with a lot of leaders like yourself that have this conundrum where they want to be liked by their people, right? And they don't want to be considered a boss or a micromanager. They want to be considered a leader that people want to follow and perpetuate.
Yeah.
But there's this concept, and I write about it in the book, called having a straight but respectful conversation. And it's just that. It's, what happened is X. What we needed was Y. There's a gap. And I just, it's an opportunity for us to now look and see, like, is this something that's up your alley? Mm-hmm. And people often will go into this protect and defend mode. And that they're in it when they start telling you reasons. Like, they'll waste 20 or 30 minutes of your time telling you why. Mm-hmm. They're trying to protect themselves. And then we don't know how to interrupt that always in a way that's respectful, that doesn't disempower them, that has them, not thinking, oh, I need to go look for another job. This is just not the right one for me. Mm-hmm. And it's an opportunity to say, look, I just want to have a straight conversation with you, and there's nothing wrong here. There's some problems, there's some issues. We'll work through those, but there's nothing wrong fundamentally. Mm-hmm. We just need to look at, your skill set compared to this task. And then we need to say, is this task one that your skill set and your strengths support, that you actually like doing? And I need you to be straight with me, because I'm on your team. This is not hockey. I'm not creating a penalty zone designed to take you out, right? Yeah. I want you in the game, but I want you in the right position with the right stick. You need the right tool. So I think that's where this concept I have of, like, a straight and respectful conversation goes. And just kind of curious, like, what you're hearing in that.
No, I mean, I've definitely had that. It's a hard thing. I mean, because they're just, I try to keep people very specialized in, like, you are good at writing, you are good at this, but obviously I don't have 40 hours of writing. Like, that just doesn't exist. So that's why, you have people that are kind of like, you do a little this, a little that, a little this. If you want more, this is what I have. It's not writing. Right. And so
Well,
that's kind of the position that I have. And sometimes I've found where it's like sometimes people are better at doing certain things and not others, writing specific, writing certain content, not others. And it's like, well, and I have had something similar like this happen, and like it's just I move them to something else. And I always find a way to kind of say, but here's the upside. You could do this instead. Sometimes I just
okay.
go like, you're awful at this. I have to take it. Look at this. This
Yeah,
is a good opportunity.
that sounds a little bit like trying to be nice.
Mm-hmm.
And I would just, I know you don't want to lose the people, but I think it's fair to be straight with them.
Okay.
And also just look at the mix of business you have,
Yeah.
right? If you have someone that's really great at something, maybe that's the business that you market toward, right? Maybe it's about, hey, look, we are really good when it comes to writing articles about accountability. So we're going to go and look for all of the business coaches out there that focus on accountability, because now we can write articles for 40 instead of for 3.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an opportunity to kind of look at the strengths that exist in your organization and then model your business from what exists, and then build on something that you could be considered an expert in, or that maybe
Interesting.
you're already considered an expert in, but you're not narrow enough in the market you're targeting.
Hmm.
So I'll leave you with
Interesting.
this, and then I want your take. But the one thing I'll leave you with is, when you're everything to everyone, you're nothing to no one.
Mm-hmm.
People love working with experts.
Mm-hmm.
And the smaller and more well-defined area of business that you are targeting, the greater the likelihood that you are the whale in the minnow pond.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What do you take away from all that?
There's things that I can do and cannot do right now. That's what I'm taking away from it, from a realistic standpoint.
Sure.
Um, but yeah, that's kind of my take on it.
Okay.
Yeah, things to
Yeah.
improve on.
Well, there's always stuff to look at, right?
Yeah.
And what I heard a lot today with this, Claire, was, you see things in a small business and they don't always easily get resolved,
Mm-hmm.
but you're asking a lot of the right questions. You're having a lot of the right conversations with people. And, it sounds like just conversations like this help you think through some of the things that are there. So you can
Yeah,
look at how you help manage the organization and how it works.
definitely. Yep.
Well,
It's always
perfect.
good to talk to experts.
Hey, Claire, is there anything that you'd like to leave people with today?
Oh goodness. Um, I don't know. Yeah, it's always good to talk to experts. I think that's a good thing.
Awesome.
Whether whatever it is, because we're not an expert in everything. There's no way you can be. So
Awesome. Love it.
yeah,
Listen, I really want to thank you. It was so much fun chatting with you today. We got the wheels working up here.
yeah.
I'm actually really looking forward to what comes out of that in the next couple of weeks. So
Okay,
will you let me know?
definitely.
Okay. Hey, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Please, if you have any questions or you want to add a topic, chime in on the social channel here, the social channel here, and let me know. If you'd like to learn more about being CountOnAble, come to the website, CountOnAble.com. I'm Jeff Cohen with Claire Bahn. Have an amazing day.